Here.
Happy New Year!
Good morning, Fit Fam. We got everybody here. Juliana, Kimberly, Whitney, the influencer.
Whitney's on. Yay!
All right.
She keeps reminding me that I haven't responded to her yet. Good looking out, Whitney.
What's up, everybody?
Keep me honest, girlfriend. Keep on doing it. I'm not mad at all. Keep pinging me. We are in the midst of, I am in the midst of a very busy day today.
I've got a busy day too. I've got 3 weeks of classes assignments to get done.
Let's just say it's a crazy day.
I'm trying to get it done today. I don't have to get it all done today, but I'm trying to get it done today.
That actually brings up something we wanted to introduce this year is the format.
We're actually going to try to get organized outside of not being on time, which I don't think we've, maybe once in the 46 episodes that we've done have we actually been on time. I think we need to be on time.
We need to make it a resolution.
We need to be on time. We tell people 10:45 we should be here.
Yes.
10:45.
Which means 10:30, 10:30, 10:30.
Okay. Format.
So,
we're going to try to be a little more organized and professional.
What you all can expect on these chats every week and every month now, because we're switching it up a little bit. So first and foremost, let's just talk about the format. So 3 things we're going to do on every chat. We're going to start with
intro and updates.
Updates meaning what's going on in our world.
What's going on, or are there any things we think you guys need to know about? Is there an event coming up? Is there something that we're doing that you guys can participate in? Like you have your challenge, like different things like that. So we're going to try not to take up like an hour of just here's all the other stuff going on, but we want to at least start off with here's some things you should know about real quick. Maybe there's a promotion on Equip, or there's a product or something that we want to let you know about.
Things we want you to know about.
A new brand, a new flavor or something. Who knows what it is. A new product that we just found. Oh my God, everybody needs to get this, whatever.
News, info, updates, yes.
So that'll be the first thing.
And we're going to try to keep
5 to 10 minutes.
Under 10 minutes.
Yep.
Yes.
And then we'll also do 5 or 10 minutes of, what did we call it? Coaches Insights.
Weekly insights from our lives. Maybe little aha moments or
something we've read, something we've heard, something a client was dealing with that we help them, whatever it may be. Something that's kind of like, hey, here's something to think about this week. That's outside of the general topic of what the videos.
And then the grand majority of the time of the videos we're going to allocate to the topic of the day, which most weeks will be whatever particular topic comes up that week that develops itself into a full 40-minute discussion.
Right.
But once a month, we are going to do what we're doing today, which is we do have a topic that we're going to discuss.
We do have a couple questions.
But monthly Q&A. So the
first Sunday of every month.
First Sunday Q&A.
First Sunday Q&A. She likes that because it rhymes.
I love it. I love things with that rhyme. I love alliteration.
Should I let them know on what our new T-shirt's going to be? Because it's rhymey. It's rhymey. Okay, you all know that I like thick women.
He likes them thick.
I like muscular, strong. Not muscular. That's the wrong word.
The
connotation of muscular is I like women that look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's not.
Okay, no.
I like strong, fit women. Woman. Her thickness is my sickness. How you like that?
So
that's a T-shirt, a total T-shirt that I'm getting.
For the men, her thickness is my sickness.
Yep. Feminine muscular, that's right. So, anywho, I just had to get that out because that was totally off topic, but you said rhymey, and it's been in my head ever since I came up with it yesterday.
So news, updates, announcements.
News, updates, announcements. The first one is you've got it. Is it too late to join the challenge?
No, it's not. We have not begun yet. So today is the kickoff call or kickoff live stream for the 3rd annual Grace and Grind Challenge inside Keto Bikini Secrets, Keto Bikini Body, Keto Bikini Academy. You don't have to be a member of the Academy to participate.
It's free.
It is
but
free.
But wait, there's more.
That's right. Somebody's been reading my marketing.
Is that what you said?
I literally have a slide that says, but wait, there's more.
I think I just drooled on myself. Welcome to our life.
Were you thinking about my thickness?
Thickness is my sick.
So Grace and Grind Challenge is back. This is the challenge that I do every year, third year in a row now, that is opposite to what you might expect from a New Year's challenge. So unlike 75 Hard, unlike these go all in or you have to start all over on day one and burn yourself out in 21, 30 days, this challenge is all about establishing habits that help you stay consistent and continue to show up even when you don't complete the thing that day. You don't have to start all over again. You don't have to say, now I'm a failure and I have to start back.
That was the main reason you started. I remember
Yes.
I remember you had somebody that was doing 75 Hard, or you were hearing people about they were doing 75 Hard, and you were getting fired up about the whole idea of having to quit and start over every time, because while that's great, and I remember your phrase was, Andy Frisella did that because he's crazy and he needed something to get himself jump-started.
Yeah.
Not everybody's that same. We don't all have that same mentality. And for most people,
Yep.
the thing that you're going to do to push yourself forward should challenge you, but it should function the same as life functions.
It should become a part of your life.
Right. You don't just quit and start all over again when something doesn't work in life. You pick up from where you are and you keep moving forward. And that's what this is more about. It's like you're not, like you said, you're not a failure. You didn't fail the challenge.
That's it.
That's challenge. In fact, I would even say, and this is just me making some connections, that the challenge is, how do you keep going when you don't do what you want to do?
How do you recover? It's
a recovery challenge.
Literally everything. Yeah. Everything when it comes to your long-term success in anything you do. If you quit every time you fail that day, if you quit your job every time you did something wrong,
right.
Where would you be right now?
Right.
That's essentially it.
If you got a divorce every time you had a fight.
Every time I would do a program or a challenge or anything coaching wise, and it still happens with private clients too. It's, you have a bad week and I don't hear from you for 3 weeks.
Yep.
That's what I was seeing a lot inside the group. And so I wanted something that would get, and you know what it is. It's the phrase I hear all the time that drives me bonkers. I'm an all or nothing person.
Well, if you keep saying that.
I can do it when I'm all in, but the minute something goes wrong, then I'm all out. And then this is why I always like to say, well, how's that working for you? A lot of the time you think it's working so well for you, but it's only because you're looking at how well you do when everything is going well. And then what you really need to take stock of is, how much of my time throughout my week, month, year am I spending off the wagon because I either have to be all the way on or all the way off? It is not helping you.
Yeah.
So this challenge is all about showing up messy, imperfect, owning your failures in the moment, the day-to-day failures, because nobody who's ever been successful got there without some sort of failure. So it's no longer jumping ship every time you fail on something and making it mean something about you. So
own it, understand it, and move on.
So that's what Grace and Grind is all about. We're kicking it off today. Today is not day one of the 21-day challenge. Today is kickoff day, meaning I am doing a live stream on my YouTube at 2 p.m. Eastern today, and it is going to be all the nitty-gritty details about how the challenge works, what we expect out of you, and then the biggest part of it is going to be a vision workshop where I'll walk you through how to set your vision and your intentions for the year, and then breaking that down into how do you select, because you are the person in this challenge that is selecting the 4 habits that you're going to be working on each day of this challenge. I'm not telling you, like 75 Hard, here's the 5 things you have to do in this challenge. I'm telling you there are 4 areas of focus: fitness, nutrition, personal development, and self-care.
Don't get too much into it.
You decide. You decide what those habits are. I'm just telling you there's 4 areas that we're going to work on. Because the other big thing with this concept is that y'all think you can't work on more than one thing at a time. If I'm going to work on my fitness, I can't work on anything else. If I'm going to work on my nutrition, I can't work on my mindset or my self-care.
We're going to go into a whole nother rabbit hole. That's not, okay. So that's the challenge. 2:00, watch her video.
And for my Academy members, we are also kicking off our brand new training program that starts tomorrow. So you can also look forward to that starting. So a lot of things are starting for me right now. You?
I don't think I have anything really. I just want to remind everybody, if anybody is in the Midwestern or Western side of the country, or even if you're on the East Coast or anywhere else in the world, if you want to join us in March in Arizona, it's in March, right?
Yes, end of March.
In March, we're going to be in Arizona, in the Phoenix area. I think it's Phoenix. Is it the Phoenix area?
I believe so. Tempe?
Something like that. We're going to be in Arizona doing a meetup. A bunch of people. Dr. Nally is going to be there. Is Danny going to be there?
I don't know. I don't remember who else. I need to look at the details.
There's a few people. I forget it. So low carb collab. It's going to be a blast. Michelle and
Jenny Culbertson's going to be there. Yay!
And awesome.
We'll see you there.
Michelle and Jen Winkler are setting this up and coordinating it. So
Becky's going to be there.
If anybody is interested in hopping in Arizona, we'll put a link. I know the link has been in my newsletter. If you haven't signed up for my newsletter, sign up for. Oh, I do have something to tell everybody. You guys know I'm shifting to do a lot more exercise science-based stuff because of I'm working on my master's. I told you all last week I'll be getting my PhD. That's going to take a lot longer than I was thinking it was going to take, but that's okay. Part of that process is going to be me shifting a lot of my content. We talked about that last week. If you go to ketogenicathlete.com, it is a new blog that I have started. It's a resurrection of an older blog that I had a while ago. I took out some stuff that wasn't really exercise science related, kept some of the stuff that's more sports performance exercise science related, and then I've been adding things. So as I go through this process of finishing my master's, getting my PhD, I've got about 6 papers that I want to write. I've already started working on an outline for a book on ketogenic exercise science. There's a lot of stuff happening this year and the next few years. But go to ketogenicathlete.com, subscribe to it, get on the mailing list. Every time that I put out a new blog, you'll get an email so you know what's going on. But I'm really hoping to blow the lid off of exercise science and the importance of the ketogenic diet and being a ketogenic athlete and what that can do for people. So take a look at that. That's what's new for me.
Disrupting the industry.
Disrupt the industry. So those are things going on with us. Let's get into, that was over the time. We're 3 minutes over our intro and updates time.
We said less than 10 each, so we're still within the window.
Oh, okay. So now we got to talk about.
We started late.
Well, I'm looking at this.
Oh, how many minutes in?
13 minutes in.
We are inside the window.
We said 5 to 10 minutes for the intro part.
And
we're over.
5 to 10 for the.
Now we got to talk about.
No,
that was the intro part.
Well,
now we got to talk about the insight part. The weekly insights.
Yes.
So we only have 6 minutes and 20 seconds for the weekly insights.
Do not plan things with a military guy based on time. This is what you're going to get. It is what it is. We're going to move on from where we are. All right.
So what is the insight that we had this week? You started this, and then I was like, wait, you know what? I've been feeling the same way.
It's crazy how
because we both made changes.
It was the exact same day that we had the same revelation.
Yeah.
So he started CrossFit again. I have started dancing again. Officially. You went 2 or 3 days this week?
Something like that.
And
I started last week.
I went 2 days to the dance studio, and what we have both been present to is this shift in the way that we are thinking about our day-to-day
choices,
nutrition, lifestyle choices. Yes. Structuring the day, structuring meals, just thinking about it in a different way.
Consistency in what we're doing. And it's not even that part, it's the impact of the choices has been more present. Yes. I'll tell you what prompted it for me.
for bodybuilding, my typical way of training, lifting in the gym, basic bodybuilding training. I don't need to worry so much, and I do see a lot of this in community discussion groups about, how to eat pre-workout, post-workout to drive energy for workouts and stuff like that. But I will tell y'all, most of that with bodybuilding, it's not necessary to be so particular about pre and post-workout nutrition. If you're eating meals, and
if you're eating enough, you're eating enough.
The way that I always answer that in groups is I don't focus on pre and post-workout nutrition. I just eat my meals and I work out in between my meals, and it works fine for me. With dance, it's different. If I'm going to a dance class, and I've been taking these dance classes in the nighttime, 6:45 or 7:45 dance classes in the evening. Typically, that's the time I would be eating dinner, around 6 o'clock. If I normally eat a very large dinner and I'm feeling full and uncomfortable, or not even uncomfortable, just full, excessively full, or I leave more of my food intake for that last meal, I do not want to go into a dance class and perform rolling around on the floor. I mean, I've got bruises, y'all, because we were on the floor rolling around and I did not have knee pads. And she was like, "So sorry, I didn't tell you how to bring knee pads for this class." So dance is a little different than lifting, just straight bodybuilding style lifting. I don't need to think as intently, strategically, methodically about timing of meals and quantity per meal.
You know what I'm thinking? It's very similar to the activity. When you're bodybuilding, when you're doing a strength workout, the focus is more isolated because the work is more isolated.
Yes.
When you are dancing, the work is much more coordinated and holistic.
Systemic, yeah.
And systemic, right? There's a whole lot of stuff you're trying to coordinate and do, and it's also metabolic from an energy perspective. There's a whole bunch of things.
It's like going to a cardio class. You're not going to go jump around right after eating a meal.
Right. So there's a lot more just movement. There's not much movement, full body movement when you're just lifting weights.
Right.
So it's very different. And it's the same for me on the CrossFit side, right? I've been doing the most movement I've done in my workouts is like kettlebell swings. Right?
Yeah.
But other than that, it's squats, bench, pressing, things like that. So getting into where I have to think about, okay, I have to do a Metcon that's 18 minutes long. I don't want to have to go to the bathroom in the middle of it. I want to have the energy to get through it. I don't want to feel like, even afterwards, I want to make sure that I recover from it well. There's a bunch of aspects that when I'm in the morning thinking about what do I want to do, in the night when I'm thinking about I need to get to bed because I have a good workout tomorrow, when I'm in the office and it's Christmas and everybody's brought in cookies and brownies and all these other different things, and I have to say, hey, I'm not doing that. Normally I wouldn't do that anyways, but there's still that voice that pops up sometimes. It's the holidays, just have one, right? But I know if I do that, then it's going to cause bowel issues, and then I'll likely have to poop all day long, right? And then I've got to work out today. I don't want to be trying to manage going to the bathroom while I'm doing my workout later.
Yep.
Right. So there's all these other aspects.
And scheduling too, right? Like
performance,
we're both having to be more intentional about how we set up our day when we're planning that activity. Whether you're going to your 4:30 class or your 6:30 class and then moving it around with the other things you're doing. I'm moving around my training schedule. I'm not going to train legs on the same day that I'm taking a dance class.
Right.
Now I have to think more. And we talked about kind of the theme here is it's because we're starting it new again.
We're restarting something that we've been in a routine. We kind of haven't, the awareness, intent, and focus of the physical aspects of what we're doing in our lives hasn't needed to be.
It's been on autopilot.
We've been on autopilot. So now making this shift is kind of making us go, oh yeah.
Oh, I have to be intentional. I have to plan.
Right. And what we wanted to express to you guys is you can do that now. The shift that this is for you is I have to perform at the gym. But it's not just the gym. I have to perform at work. I have to perform for my kids. I have to perform at home. I have to perform with my spouse. Everything that you do in life is some type of performance. Physical requirement. We call it in exercise science, we call it work capacity. How much can you do and how well can you do it? How efficiently do you do it? If you want to show up for yourself, and here's the phrase that we came up with this morning, like your life is your sport. If you want to take the idea, she talks about it all the time, as a competitor. In CrossFit, everybody in CrossFit, many gyms have the mentality that everybody in CrossFit that comes to a CrossFit gym is an athlete.
Yep.
Right? In CrossFit gyms, if you're building we call our members in CrossFit gyms athletes. They could never have stepped on a sports field a day in their life, but if they're in a CrossFit gym, they're an athlete because life is your sport. So if you start looking at the things that you're doing and saying, how am I performing in the things that matter to me?
My life, my sport.
Then it helps frame the decisions you're making a little bit differently. It's not about weight loss, right? This is the whole aesthetics versus quality of life discussion.
And
right?
that's what prompted it for me was this, when it was all just about changing my body and improving my body for my next stage date, which might be weeks or months or years away.
It's harder to keep that motivation and consistency.
It's in the future. This thing I'm working toward is in the future. It's not present to me every day in the same way as a performance goal is. And your performance goals can be anything. It can be related to your lifting.
And they happen every day.
It could be when I go to the gym, I want to be able to do one more rep, or I want to be able to do my first pull-up. Or it could be, I was just talking about another goal I have this year, which is to improve my brain capacity early in the morning. I want to be more alert, more focused, brain creativity wise. I want to turn my brain on earlier in the day so I'm not focusing on cleaning the house or something that doesn't require as much focus during that time. So if I want to perform for that and get that kind of brain energy that I'm looking for in the morning.
What's up, everybody?
That's another performance goal. So look at your life in terms of what are my life performance goals.
Yep.
If life was a sport, if my life was my sport, what would be my performance goals for life?
Right. And then literally, guys, it's used as a joke. It's a meme. What are you training for? I'm training for life. Yes. Absolutely. You are training for life. That is what you're training for.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. So that was the little mini topic.
That was a mini topic, and it was exactly 10 minutes.
Look at that.
Okay.
But that's also our main topic of the day because then we're getting into
we have questions. We have questions. So I have a couple questions that people asked. You have at least one. There's probably more.
I think we had a question here.
We had a question. Let's go there first.
Live questions first. So you guys,
let's say hi to
are the
people.
VIPs because you're here live with us.
We got Rockin' Keto Amy. What's going on? I'm looking at my YouTube for you people over here on Instagram. Rockin' Keto Amy. What's up? Keto Simple. What's up? Dustin. We got Low Carb Spin. Hey everyone, enjoyed your live with Cindy. We did a live with Cindy yesterday. It was awesome. Andrea.
Becky's
on. All these ladies know each other.
Juliana.
JG. I don't know JG. Hi JG. Calories aren't created equal. No, they're not.
We're going to get into that today, aren't we? That's a question. Maybe. That's a question we got.
Oh, yeah, it is. You're right. Yep. What's the question you have?
Right. Whitney it was up there somewhere about muscle.
Somebody said something about muscle. Is this it?
There it is.
Can muscle get reconstituted after they have gone soft? I want my muscles to look like gnats.
So we got to talk about what makes your muscles look like this?
Flex it.
What makes the pump, right? I mean, essentially that's what we're talking about. This is
Well, I think in general, there's just a building muscle. Yeah. It sounds like reconstituted is the question. So it sounds like maybe if you've worked out in the past, how do you build them back up? Or in general, how do you build muscle? Because it's the same.
Gone soft, right?
Yeah,
the muscle's gone soft. It's just, now that concept is the difference.
It's a misnomer.
Notice even for yourself. before your workout and after your workout. I've posted photos before on my Instagram that have been pre-pump and post-pump. I look different. My arm, if I'm just sitting here.
She's so flabby. Blah.
Versus if I sit like this.
Right.
There's a little flex there, right? But if immediately after your workout, you should notice, or in the midst of your workout, about halfway through, you should notice you start to have this pump, and you'll notice
increased blood flow to the muscles, and your muscles.
And that's just blood flow. Yeah, that's just blood flow. That's what we do backstage of bodybuilding competitions. We're pumping up so that when we get on stage, our muscles appear more dense.
But in general, if you're talking about building muscle, more protein, more sleep, and more stimulus.
Training with
Train heavy.
Progressive overload.
Train heavy, get adequate recovery, and make sure you're getting enough protein.
And
those are the three big things.
Progressive overload, meaning you're not doing the same thing every time you work out.
Right.
You're asking more of your muscles.
Right. And I think we both probably have videos on intensity and training and how to progress and things like that. But you can add weight, you can add reps, you can add time under tension, you can change and do more complicated or more, different types of lifts.
Exercises.
So there's a lot of different ways to increase that intensity. But
I'll tell you what really makes your muscles look denser, which is what you're talking about, building them and then getting lean enough to see them. This ties in with the concept of that women always say.
You can look bigger by getting smaller.
And the truth is, what makes you look bulky is body fat. Mm-hmm. It's not muscle. So the more muscle you build and a lower body fat you have, the more tight and the skin stretching over the muscles. That's what creates that look, that toned look that women always say they want. It's building the mass and then losing the body fat on top of it to make it show. That's all there is to it, really.
Rockin' Keto Amy says, I need to get back to the gym. Lifting is my favorite, but I have had 3 left hip labral repair surgeries and I'm prone to labral tears. I'm always scared to get back up again for fear of injury. So I have labral tears. I have one in my shoulder and one in the shoulder. I have a torn meniscus in my knee. I have never had them repaired. The only thing that's made me feel better with them is going carnivore.
Ooh. The reduction of the
reduction of the overall inflammation is complete. I don't have, every once in a while, I'll have the tear will get aggravated or something will happen and I'll have to take a day of just kind of taking it easy. But for the most part, there's very few things that I can't do anymore. There's really only one thing, and it's overhead squats and snatches, right? Barbell snatches, which I just don't do because there's no need to do them. They're not a functional thing that you need to be able to do in general. So I can still do presses overhead. I can still hang from a bar. I can do all the things that previously, almost seven years ago, before I started carnivore, I couldn't. I was trying to do all the CrossFit stuff, and I went from working out 5 days a week to I was down to 2 days a week. If I got 3 days a week, it was a great week because I got an extra day because I was just hurt all the time. So changing up what I was doing in my nutrition was the biggest thing that helped me recover.
Concurs. I mean, everybody concurs. Everybody who has experienced that. That's the biggest reason to consider going keto or carnivore is the reduction of inflammation overall. Across the board. Which is, inflammation is the root of all disease.
Yep. So, and then the other thing I would say, Amy, is as you get back into it, get help. Get someone to help guide you, because
that was going to be my advice.
Outside of inflammation, the other issue is what's the movement pattern? How are you moving? What is it you're doing? Maybe you're going heavier than you need to. Maybe you have a movement pattern thing that you need to work on.
That's it.
It could be your movement patterns are fantastic, but you have something structural in your knees or your hips that's causing an issue that you may need to alter. So maybe you learn how to do something properly. This is what I see a lot because it's the dogmatic aspect of a lot of trainers out there. This is the right way to do this movement. But there's no concept or application to maybe you aren't built to do it that way. Maybe you need, instead of keeping your knees forward when you squat, maybe you need to turn your toes out and have your knees go out to the side a little bit more. Maybe your knees should go more forward than someone else, or more back than someone else. Maybe you need to lean more than someone else. Like, there's a lot of biomechanical aspects of movement that you should have someone look at and say, maybe this is part of the reason why you're having these issues.
That's exactly what I was going to recommend, is work with someone, a physiotherapist, physical therapist, or a really good PT who understands what he's talking about. In person. And shout out, Juliana said, join the academy. Yes, we do form checks, technique form checks in there.
And there may be some help coming along.
There may be. I'm not going to put that out there yet. Maybe. So I will. On the side of training. But one of the things I encourage, especially my ladies who find themselves getting injured, online training, you don't have somebody right there with you watching the way that you're doing the movement. So I think it's really important to see somebody in person, even if you just get a few sessions, and I think that's important for anyone to do at any point in their journey. Sure. But another thing you can do too, if it's more of this mental fear, go to the gym and use the machines. It's a great place to start that will give you the structure, the movement
pattern. It maintains the movement pattern and gives you the support.
To work the isolated muscles so you can build that strength, because if you're coming back from, injuries, surgeries, and you haven't been doing it for a while, you're going to need to build back some base level strength to support yourself in the unsupported movements.
That's a very, very good recommendation. Particularly when you're coming back from injury. It's also a great place for beginners.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Because here's the thing. When we are weak in our musculature, when our muscles are weak, our joints and our tendons have to take up the slack. So when we're moving in complex, self-supporting movements, we are adding stress to those parts of our system that aren't ready to handle it yet.
Yep.
So working with machines is a great way. That's why we say, if you're just getting started, do body weight, the least amount of additional weight as possible until you get the movement and until you can support yourself.
Yep,
right?
Stabilize.
There are people who just body weight only, they can't do a full squat. So they need to work on some modifications and scales and progressions, and machines is a great way to do that. If you go to my website, COACHBRONSON.com, I have a free beginner, it's called Machine Masters workout. It is a regular weekly routine that you can download for free, and it's all machines. So you can go to any gym, you have a workout you can do 3 or 4 days a week. It's right there written for you. Just follow along and just do the instructions, and it will help you get to that place where, hey, maybe now I'm ready to do some body weight stuff, or maybe do some other things with dumbbells or kettlebells or whatever else.
She also makes it something else. I want to make this point. She says she still has her PT exercises, and she was thinking about starting back with her PT. So this is another thing I harp on in my group all the time. Do the PT exercises and don't stop doing them. Right? They're not just to be done those, few weeks after.
Don't do them for a week and be like, well, that didn't work.
Keep doing them and start back with those, because they're going to help build that initial stability that you need, strength and stability, and all the stabilizing muscles around those joints, before you even get to the strength training. Yep. So absolutely, you're on the right track. Hopefully we just affirmed that for you. I think I saw another question pop up.
Another question? Okay.
About menopause.
Oh gosh, I'll let you talk on that one. I gotta go to the bathroom. This coffee is going through me. I should probably turn my mic off. You all want to hear me go to the bathroom?
Probably a good idea. Nobody wants to hear that. Oh boy. All right. Low Carb Spin says, what are your ideas for women, hormones, and menopause? How do you start with weight loss and muscle building? All right. So, oh boy. This could be an hour-long discussion in and of itself. But you're my peoples, because I'm over here. I'm 41 years old, turning 42 in 6 weeks or so. Going through perimenopause myself, and it is a B word from time to time, more often than not right now. So, for my ladies going through perimenopause, in postmenopause, the biggest thing, the most important thing for you is exactly what you're talking about here. Building muscle. Building muscle is the key to making this whole transition easier for you and making you healthier in postmenopause. So wherever you are now, whether you've gone through it yet, whether you're already 10 years on the other side of it, it doesn't matter. Starting is the most important thing that you can do. So weight-bearing exercise is going to be very important for you. So the muscle building, you can do this in many different ways, but a couple different really great ways to do it. I would not jump into something like powerlifting if you've never lifted before. So I would say bodybuilding style training. That's what we do in the Keto Bikini Academy. Everything is hypertrophy style training for building muscle tissue, muscle mass, as well as strength. Or the other side of that I would encourage as a first step is strength-based training. So not quite powerlifting 1 to 3 reps and finding your 1 rep max and calculating, numbers and learning very complex Olympic lifts, but starting with strength and or hypertrophy bodybuilding style training. So things I like 8 to 12 rep ranges, or 8 to 15, or even 20, or 6, starting at 6 reps anyway up to 20, or pure strength rep ranges, which would be more like 5 reps.
3 to 5.
But finding weights that are challenging for you. Okay, so when we talk about, or you hear people, and you're going to hear a lot of women in the menopause space now talking about lifting heavy. Heavy is relative. If you are not currently lifting, 5 pounds might be heavy for you. So I don't want you to feel like you have to go start being a power lifter tomorrow to be able to benefit. So anything that is challenging to you, it's something we were just talking about, body weight might be the thing. Mm-hmm. For somebody who hasn't ever lifted before. Machines or free weights. There's almost no wrong way to get started.
If it's hard to do, then you're doing it right.
Yes. And so muscle building is all about, like I talked about before, progressive overload. Going and being consistent with a routine. It could be twice a week to start with. It could be 20-minute workouts twice a week. So it's whatever you're doing. What am I doing now?
And what's more than
What
that?
would be more than that? And the key here is going to be the big things for women in menopause. Cut down on cardio if you are a cardio girly. If you are one of my cardio bunnies who loves to do the spin classes, I think spin was in her name, right? Low carb
right.
spin or something, right? If you're taking spin classes, Zumba classes, Les Mills classes, any of these classes that are essentially cardio based.
P90X,
getting your heart rate up.
Beachbody.
Yeah, all of that stuff. All that stuff. And even,
Shanti, going back.
And even, I've had ladies who've had massive success following things like Caroline Gervin on YouTube and doing the follow-along workouts. It doesn't have to be her. It's any of these people on YouTube that do these follow-along workouts where you're keeping pace with them. What I would say in that case, and it's not necessarily a bad place to start if you're just needing something simple for your brain to understand, right? But what I would do is slow them way down. So if you want to start with a free YouTube follow-along workout, pause the video. Try the exercises in a slow fashion without trying to keep up, because the big thing that's the issue with a lot of these video-based things is that it's just too quick. It's having you do things that are really more cardio-based than strength-based. And the best way to build muscle is going to be slowing that down, getting the time under tension, and what we talked about with Keto Rockin' Amy, doing the movements correctly, learning to do the correct proper form, technique, maybe altering it for your own biomechanics. And that's why I encourage things like that. What we offer is programs you can follow, not follow along.
Yeah.
Kind of stuff. So
Okay.
cut down on cardio, focus on strength training, and then the other big thing for women in menopause, eat enough protein and enough fat. And finding what's right for you in that.
Here's the challenge. Here's the challenge with menopause. And I'm hoping you'll back me up on this.
I'm sure I will.
A lot of women are doing what they're doing because they want to lose weight or lose body fat. When you're dealing with menopause, there may be a conversation you need to have with yourself that is weight loss or fat loss the priority, or is managing menopause the priority?
Ooh.
Right? Because if you have to increase your protein, increase your fat in order to help manage the hormonal changes that are happening in your body, you may not lose the weight you want to lose right now, because your health and your quality of life is going to take priority over the weight loss.
Yeah, and sometimes...
Now, you can still gain muscle, you can still do things, you can still improve your body composition over time, but the focus on weight loss may need to take a back seat to how good you feel every day.
I gotta mention this.
Okay? So it's something to think about.
A massive theme I'm seeing in the academy right now, and I'm loving it. A lot of my ladies are letting go of the cut, letting go of the weight loss phase, fat loss phase, and going into an intention this new year of whether it's 3 months, 4 months, 6 months. Some of them are planning the entire year to focus on maintenance, not losing weight on the scale, and focusing on building muscle. And one of the things I shared on a Zoom call recently that you say all the time, that blew people's minds. So listen up, not just my ladies, men, everyone, but especially my ladies in menopause. If you were to stop focusing on seeing the scale go down for a period of time and just build muscle, your body fat percentage will go down, because it is a function of a percentage of how much of your mass on your body, how much of your weight is muscle versus fat. You will lose body fat percentage staying the same weight by focusing on building muscle. That would be my ideal way
gaining
for
weight.
Any woman going through menopause.
I'm going to tweak that a little bit. Even if you gain weight, you can decrease your body fat percentage.
Yes.
If I weigh 150 pounds and not a single thing changes other than I add 5 pounds of muscle,
my body fat percentage
goes down.
And the way your body looks will change.
Right?
You will change the way your body looks. You will get that tighter toned look without having to diet.
The scale is going to say that you gained weight. This is why we say all the time, weight really doesn't make that much of a difference.
It's
right?
Such a
it's the composition. It's the relationship between your muscle and your fat that's more important.
Yes.
We have a question that may lead into our
was it Nilly's
other conversation?
No, Nilly had a good question.
No, somebody said something about calories. Hold on. Kimberly. She said, good advice. Good advice, but I notice it good advice. I'm not a fan of cardio, but I notice it burns more calories than strength training.
Oh boy. Okay.
Cardio.
And then Nilly also had a question about what up, Nilly, by the way? One of my favorite recipe creators. By the way, y'all, if you're not following Indigo Nilly on YouTube, you're missing out.
You think about zone 2 cardio. How much is good? How much is too much? Oh, great question. Okay.
So 2 questions about cardio. And that second one, read that for everybody so they hear you.
What about zone 2 cardio?
Zone 2 cardio, how much is too much?
Okay. How do I want to start
Calorie burn. Let's start with the calorie burn.
Okay. Let's start with, cardio for weight loss. This is one of my favorite things, and I think I talk about this in my last book. Cardio for weight loss is a substitute, a replacement for having a healthy functioning metabolism.
Oh, that's a powerful statement.
Okay.
I have not heard you say that before.
The idea of cardio for fat loss is let me stimulate energy metabolism in the body to utilize fuel. Okay? But it only works while you're doing it.
What about the afterburn effect?
Well, hold on. Because here's what happens. Cardio, that system, the cardiovascular system, the better you get at cardio, the less fuel you use. You're improving your gas mileage, which means if you do 20 minutes a day and I burn X number of calories. We'll talk about calories in a second. I burn X number of calories. After a couple months, you have to go to 30 minutes to burn the same number of calories. After a couple months, you have to go to 40 minutes.
Because your body adapts.
Because your body adapts and it's getting more efficient. It's not burning as much fuel to do the same amount of work. So you have to do more work to keep the same burn. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay? What happens when you have a functioning metabolism? What that means is more muscle. Because muscle drives metabolic function. The more muscle you have, the more active your metabolism is, the more energy demand it has at rest, and the more you can do in general, okay? The more muscle you have, the more your energy requirements, your energy demands are 24/7, whether you're actively exercising or not. So when we talk about what's actually the best thing for sustainable long-term fat loss, building muscle will always beat cardio every single time, okay? Cardio is not for fuel burn. Cardio is a component of health. So when you're doing cardio, you're doing it to make your heart stronger, to improve lung capacity, to improve the efficiency of how your body utilizes oxygen and burns fat.
So you can go up a flight of stairs without getting winded.
Exactly. So cardio should be looked at as a component of training because it adds to your ability to do physical things, not because it is a way to lose fat. Did I explain that well enough? Did you guys get that?
Yes, and then I want to also add, this is the piece that I shout until my face turns red to my ladies in the academy. Strength training is not for fat loss. Strength training, bodybuilding training, weightlifting, weight training is not for caloric burn. I should say it that way. Because it will benefit fat loss the way that he talked about, because it's going to build that muscle and it will benefit and make it so much easier for you to lose body fat down the road.
Yep.
So even when we were talking about your body fat percentage going down just because you built muscle, it's very likely you'll actually lose some pounds of body fat if you focus on lean mass gain as well.
Absolutely. Because it promotes
recomp. Recomp without having to be on a diet or without having to do excessive cardio for the same purpose, right?
Shift your focus on cardio to how does this help me be more physically capable, and less on how does it help me burn fat.
And yes, and
honestly, shift your entire perspective around fitness.
Why am I working out?
Why am I working out? I'm not working out to lose fat. I'm working out so that I can be strong, independent, and have physical freedom when I'm 80 years old. That's why I'm working out. Everything else will take care of itself if you do that. If I could
snap my fingers and just make you think differently about one thing, that's what it would be.
Yeah.
Stop focusing on working out for calorie burn and weight loss.
Yes, absolutely.
I feel like I was going to add something else to that. Oh, so bodybuilders utilize cardio particularly for driving more of an energy deficit to drive fat loss short term to get to stage. So we build our main training around weight training And in our off seasons, when we're focused on building muscle, we cut down on cardio as much as we can so that we can utilize it as a tool when we need to.
Right.
And the reason why we do that is something you mentioned. The body is going to adapt. So if in my off season, I am doing 20,000 steps a day and I'm doing an hour of cardio a day,
when you actually need
then
to
when
cut.
I get ready to prep for a stage, now I have to do 2 hours of cardio a
Right.
day?
Yep.
So think about that. What is it taking for me to sustain my current level of body composition and health? If I'm having to do a lot of cardio and a lot of daily activity just to stay where I am, I'm going to have to do this for the rest of my life.
A lot.
And add more if I
And it's
wanna lose
going to
more.
get to a point where you just can't do it enough
can't do
to
that
sustain
anymore,
it,
yeah.
which is why building muscle is always better. As far as Indigo's question about zone 2, I've been looking in this whole zone 2 thing, and it's fascinating how we've shifted from the whole, if you anybody wants to do it, digging into where did zone 2 come from, it was discovered, developed, researched, and kind of this whole zone 2 idea, the whole zone idea was initially put together as a tool to help endurance athletes optimize their efficiency at utilizing oxygen, optimize their VO2 max, improve their VO2 max, utilize oxygen, get more work for the fuel that they were burning. Okay? It was never intended to be used as a way to say, ooh, do zone 2 and you lose more body fat. Okay? That is an offshoot of the marketing machine of fitness.
Yeah.
That now says, ooh, here's a mechanism that we can monetize to then say this will help you burn fat. Because when you optimize your fuel, you use more fat for fuel, then you're burning more fat, right? That's the whole idea. So they're leveraging this whole zone 2. So then somebody says, well, people that are more fit, endurance athletes in particular, do more zone 2 training. They have less incidence of mortality to cardiovascular disease. So zone 2 leads directly to living longer. That's another selling point.
Another marketing, yeah.
Okay? Guys, if you're fit, you're going to live longer. Do we really need a freaking study that tells us lean mass makes you live longer? Being in shape makes you live longer. Having a better VO2 max makes you live longer.
Yeah.
Right? So, doing cardio for the benefits that it gives you for being healthy should be the goal. Focusing on trying to get a certain amount of zone 2 may be more than you're able to add with the other things you may be implementing. Just like anything else. You don't want to jump in and say, I'm going to start weight training 3 days a week. I'm going to hit zone 2 2 or 3 days a week. I'm going to do mobility 3 days a week. I'm going to get some red light therapy, cold plunge, sauna, all these different things, right? So zone 2 is a good thing. I'm not saying don't do zone 2, but it's doing zone 2 specifically as an add-on for this one specific benefit. Doing anything specifically as an add-on for one specific benefit is always suspect to me, right? What is the picture? What is the big picture? How does this fit into all the other things I'm doing, right? It's like fasting. I'm going to segue for a second. If you are ketogenic, whole foods, and you're resistance training on a regular basis, the benefits of fasting are redundant.
It's already covered.
I'm going to say that again. If you are ketogenic, whole foods, and resistance training, the benefits of fasting are redundant. There are very few use cases, very few scenarios where if you're doing those 3 things, you will also need to fast. Very few.
Yeah.
Okay? So that's an example of that. If you're already maybe getting 5,000 steps, 10,000 steps a day in general, and you're weight training every day, do you also need to do zone 2 cardio 2 or 3 times a week? Probably not.
That's the perfect segue into what I wanted to share, which is particularly a lot of the time people are wanting to do zone 2 because of the fat burning effect, right? It burns the most fat. So if fat loss and fat burning is what you're going for, I'll tell you what's even more powerful than zone 2 cardio. And it is NEAT.
Yeah. And lean mass leads right into that. Absolutely.
Non-exercise activity thermogenesis, meaning daily activity that is not training or cardio. Mm-hmm. It's how active are you on a day-to-day basis. So one of the first things I always recommend is tracking your current activity. And these things are not perfect, but something that can tell you your step count, give you a roundabout idea of your step count.
And it's the step count that matters, not the calories. We're going to talk about that next.
Yes, we're going to talk about that.
Because we had a couple questions on the YouTube side about calories.
Yes. So step count just to give you an idea of how active you are during your day. And my first recommendation is always, I would rather see you get up once an hour and walk around or jump up and down than add 30 minutes of cardio to your week in a structured cardio situation. And that is because what are you going to be doing when you're 80? Are you going to do 30 minutes of cardio structured when you're 80?
Right.
Or if you develop
I'm going to get on the Stairmaster with my stepper.
If you develop the habit in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s of daily movement, of getting up more often, of not sitting around on your ass all day, you're probably going to continue doing that when you're in your 70s, 80s, 90s.
Yeah.
So do something that is going to then create this way of living and this habit that goes with you for the rest of your life that actually has a more powerful benefit on your body composition and your overall health, because you've established yourself as an active person than going and doing structured cardio.
Absolutely.
So there you go. There's
all right.
that.
We've had a couple of questions about calories. The earlier question about cardio for calories, somebody asked about how do we know how many calories we burn?
You don't.
Okay.
You never will.
You don't, and you never will.
Stop trying. That's
everybody
my
listening.
soapbox.
I'm going to make a recommendation. I'm going to tell you that you will see so much more progress in what you're doing if you absolutely forget about calories. Okay? Calories, and anybody will tell you this. Calories are just a construct. What's the big deal? It's just a construct to help people understand how much you're eating. Okay? In 1850, in 1900, when we didn't know how to quantify how much protein, fat, and carbs were in every food that we ate, that was what we had. Calories was a method that was initially developed.
He's been going down rabbit hole.
Okay, that was initially developed in the engineering space, in the development of engines, to talk about how much heat energy an engine produced. Okay, that was then stolen from that industry by a nutritionist and said, well, the body burns fuel, so let's see what that looks like. Let's apply this to the human body. Okay, that's all we had. We didn't know how to quantify how much macro and micronutrients we had in our food at the time. Okay, we are now in 2025. Every single person has detailed ability in their phone to not only know exactly how much fat, protein, and carbs they're eating every day, but how much calcium they're getting every day, how much potassium, how much vitamin B, B12, K, E, D, C, whatever. You know exactly how much. We no longer require a construct to help us figure out how much we're eating. We can actually track the thing that we need to track.
The macros.
I can track my protein. I can track my fat. I can track my carbs. How much am I eating? And then what does that do to my progress? That is the question.
And y'all, these apps are going to give you calories along with the macros, because
that's what they do.
It's still a construct. It's still used. But what we're saying is don't focus on the calories. Focus on the actual components of what you're eating.
Correct. Because here's the thing. You're going to know. If I'm eating, and this is why we say pick a number, start with it, and then test. This is you experimenting with yourself. Okay? I'm going to eat my body weight in protein and my body weight in fat. Let's just say I weigh 150 pounds. I'll eat 150 pounds of fat, 150 pounds of protein. Track it.
What happens when
I do that? Do I gain weight or do I lose weight? I'm gaining weight.
Not overnight, guys. Not one day.
Over
not
6
3
to
days.
8 weeks.
Over time. What is the average over time doing?
Right. What am I doing? What's actually happening? Here's the thing that I'm seeing in the science, and here's the thing that I'm seeing with people. Everybody's looking at this one number, looking for what's going to work based on a theoretical model.
If I do this or if I do that,
nobody's applying the model to their own life.
If I do this versus that, what will happen? Well, I don't know.
I don't know. Try it.
Try each and tell me what happens for you.
Okay. So forget about calories. How much are you actually eating? We don't need the construct anymore.
I love this from Juliana. 1,000 calories of Hershey bar versus 1,000 calories of top sirloin. That tells you all you need to know about the value of calories alone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So when it comes to trying to figure out how many calories I'm burning, number one, it doesn't matter because you're not actually burning calories. We won't get into that piece. Calories don't exist in the human body.
Number two, there is not a single tool or measurement in the world that can actually accurately tell you that.
Because
you will never know.
Because you can't. You're not doing it in the first place. Number three, if you're worried about calories, that means you're worried about fat loss and you're exercising for fat loss. You're not exercising for function.
Ooh, function over fat loss.
Function over fat loss every single time. If you worry about exercising for function, then the calories don't even come into the equation. It's not about the calories. Here's two things to understand. How does what I eat enable my body to function? Not does it fuel it. It's not about the fuel. Do I recover properly? Am I getting stronger? Can I sleep well? Do I have aches and pains? Am I inflamed?
Am I exhausted? Am I moody?
That is all the stuff that's functional. Okay? Then how is what I'm doing in the gym getting better? That's how you know if your exercise is working. If you're losing weight or not doesn't tell you if your exercise is working.
Ooh, that is so huge.
Are you getting better at the gym? Are you getting better at the physical things that you are training for? That's how you know the gym is working.
And if you are saying, okay, I'm done focusing on weight loss, I want to focus on muscle building and body recomposition. Calories do not build muscle.
Ooh. Nope. Protein does.
So focus on the components of the food, not some energy equation description that tries to quantify.
Stop using calories, guys. I have not used calories in any of my clients or any of the stuff that I do personally in at least 6 years. People come to me and they're like, let's do something. I'm like, okay, great. We get together, we put a plan together. Like, well, how many calories? I'm like, I don't know. Doesn't matter to me. Doesn't matter to me at all.
I understand it's still a thing that helps people understand how much they're eating, but I use it in the context of macros.
Right. Real quick, Paul Miller, welcome to the channel, Paul. Yes, this is not just women only. This is open to anybody. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. On my YouTube, at least. Her group, Keto Bikini Secrets, is women only. But since I'm not a woman, I'm not in there. I'm on this channel, and this is for everybody.
That's a good way to say it. I like that. So we had a question about VO2 max over here.
VO2 max, okay.
Can you describe how the test for VO2 max works and if necessary to check? I will tell you this.
Okay.
I have no idea what my VO2 max is.
Yeah.
I have never worried about it.
It's basically how much oxygen does your body need to perform a specific set of work. Okay, so it's measured in milliliters. You can just look up VO2 max with getting into all the detail of the testing. You put a mask on, you get on a thing, you work at different levels of effort, and then it measures the oxygen and the CO2 so the oxygen you take in and the CO2 that you expel, takes that equation, does a bunch of math and says, okay, well, if you're taking this much oxygen in and you're expelling this much CO2, then it means you're burning this much energy, right? And then there's something called RER, which is the respiratory exchange ratio, that will let you know if what you're burning at different intensities is more carbs or more fat, right? So they figure all this stuff out and then they can tell you. Now, your VO2 max, as you get more in shape, your work capacity goes up at a lower oxygen requirement, right? Which is translated into a higher VO2 max. I'm able to do more work with less oxygen requirement.
And so what he was just talking about in regards to how do you know if you're getting, if you're getting better, you're getting better. Here's the thing, y'all. If your performance is improving, if your function is improving, if your life, the way you feel, all these biofeedback markers are improving, none of that
we are
matters because your VO2 is going to improve. Your heart rate is going to improve. All of those little things that people are metrics that people are looking to track.
That's the word.
Will improve if you are getting better at performing.
Here's the mindset. Here's the thought process I want everyone to start thinking about all these metrics and measurements and okay. Ask yourself this question. If walking up and down the stairs is hard for me, if getting up and down off the floor is hard for me, and I do whatever I need to do to make it easier, what had to happen in my body to make it easier?
I love that. That's awesome.
In order to walk up and down the stairs and not make it be absolutely taxing, I can do it one time, then I have to go take a nap. My legs have to get stronger. I have to develop more balance. My heart has to work better. My lungs have to work better. My blood flow has to work better. My oxygen, my body's ability to utilize oxygen and burn glycogen and fatty acids for fuel has to get better. In order to perform better, you have to have a physiological and biological improvement in function first. So if your metrics of performance are improving, by definition, the metrics for health are improving too. So we don't need to worry so much about the scientific evaluation of our health.
I love that.
Okay?
Love that.
Health and fitness are the same thing.
This is why we talk about focusing on the process goals rather than a body composition number on a DEXA scan or any other metric.
Yep.
Because people will get gutted by that. They will work hard for 3 months, 4 months, 6
My
months.
A1C didn't go down. I just wasted 6 months of my life.
Go back to the DEXA and it doesn't give them what they want and now they're completely defeated.
Devastated.
But you talked about your joint pain being gone. You talked about being able to do lunges and you never could do that before without knee pain.
Right.
All of these benefits you're getting and now all that's negated because some damn test, which could have been run by the wrong technician or
even if it isn't accurate and it's 100%, that is exactly what your DEXA is.
What about everything else that you're now missing because you're just so focused on the number?
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
Share what you shared with me when you went back to CrossFit and you were pleasantly surprised.
Oh, that I didn't actually suck?
And you were like, it's been 2 years or 3 years.
It's been 2 years since I was in a CrossFit gym. At least 2 years, maybe longer. When did we move here?
September.
And I stopped working at top tier almost a year before that, right? I stopped top tier so
when we moved to Columbia.
It might have been almost 3 years. It's probably been 3 years since I was in a CrossFit gym.
Probably.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes, and I haven't done a CrossFit. I haven't done a Metcon, an actual Metcon in forever. And it didn't suck. I actually, here's the target. Here's how many, how fast you want to finish. Here's the weight you want to use. I did it. It was like, hey, okay, that was cool. I did that. And then the next day I went back, did another one. It's like, oh, I did that one too. It's like, when you stay active, your body will remember things. Your body, you stay active in certain ways.
And you talked about your nutrition and what a big difference you attribute it to.
I absolutely attribute it to
nutrition.
Yeah. Being able to maintain the function, staying fat adapted and not stopping CrossFit and doing other stuff and then going to a different nutrition thing. Now, I'm not fighting nutrition adaptation and a fitness routine adaptation at the same time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm leveraging a ketogenic nutrition adaptation to move back into a different type of fitness. So
it's similar to when I went back to the pole studio. It's now been over a year since I did that. And the same thing. I was thinking, oh gosh, am I even going to be able to lift myself like I used to? And it was so much easier than I expected. And it's just all fitness improvements and nutrition improvements and lifestyle improvements that you're making to become healthier and fitter will benefit everything else you do. All my ladies who were runners before they came to me, who stopped running because I kept pushing them to stop running, or hiking, or whatever their other activity was, they took a season to just build muscle, get strong in the gym, shift their perspective.
Loved it.
They go back to their other sports and they're better at it.
Oh, absolutely. I've worked with runners, endurance athletes all the time who come in and they're like, okay, what are we doing? I'm like, all right, we're going to do some functional training. We're going to do some strength training. We're going to do some HIIT training. We're going to mix some of these things in. You are not running for 3 months.
And you know what, y'all? It doesn't.
And they look at me like, what are you talking about? I'm not running for 3 months. And
it
then we work on
doesn't
this
work the
other
other
stuff.
way. It doesn't work the other way.
Every single time, the first run that they go out, they set a PR. I've never run this fast in my life.
Strength training and muscle building will benefit every other sport.
Yeah.
Training in your sport will not make you overall better.
It's too specific.
Better capacity, all of that.
Specific.
Yeah.
You need to be a better athlete before you become a better player.
Ooh, you got all the one-liners today. All right. We've been chatting for a while.
Yeah, it's 1:11. We've been on for an hour and 11 minutes. I think we covered a lot of stuff. We didn't even get to the questions that we had because everyone was asking questions.
But some of it was kind of addressed here, the calorie thing.
Yeah, and we can talk, maybe we'll bring these up next month.
Yeah.
We'll still have them. We can talk about the fat and carbs combined, and we did talk about the calorie and the food.
We did.
Food quantity. Okay. Awesome. Thank you very much for joining us, guys. If you have questions, send them to us. We'll compile them, and we're going to do this the first Sunday of every month. So we look forward to engaging you guys in questions and helping you move forward. I do have one question I want to add. We're not done yet. Because I specifically told somebody we were going to talk about this topic.
Okay.
And that is the dairy thing.
Oh, okay.
So I have somebody that is in my Discord group, and they were asking about, like, I'm starting carnivore. I'm trying to get started. What do I do? I don't think I have any problems with dairy, but I see everybody not eating dairy. Do I need to not eat dairy in order to have progress? So I will say, much like we just talked about, it's an experimentation process. Okay?
Yep.
If you're just getting started, it's likely that there's other things that you're doing that may be lower hanging fruit that you may need to knock out first, right? Just learning how to change your diet, how to cook different food, prepare different foods, and get into the routine of following a carnivore diet. That may be step number one. And then you can say, okay, what are some things? Maybe you want to experiment with taking out coffee. Maybe you want to experiment with not putting cream in your coffee. Maybe you want to experiment with not using butter. Maybe you want to experiment with cutting out cheese for a while, but you still do butter and cream. There's a lot of different ways you can do it. So there's no expectation about the right way to do any of this, okay? Understanding that if you're only going to know if it's going to work if you see if it works, okay? It's that self-defining loop, okay? So there are many people who think that dairy doesn't bother them until they stop. When they stop and everything is completely different, less inflammation, they start having more energy, they start losing body fat, they start having digestive issues they weren't even really aware that they had. It's just they had it for so long that it was just how they thought they were. There's some changes that happen. That may happen, that may not happen to anybody. It may be different types, right? For me, when I was going through my worst of it, I couldn't drink milk, but I could have cheese every once in a while. And then there was a period where even if I looked at cheese, it wasn't a thing, right? But I could do heavy cream. So the way that your body functions with stuff, I've always been able to do butter. That's never been a problem.
You may discover too, the dose makes the poison. You may be able to discover how much of it and how frequently, how often can you do it without it causing a problem. Yeah. You know, I am very sensitive to dairy still, but I could get away with once or twice here.
Or the type, like fermented dairy is going to be a lot better for you than doing some cheese.
Right. Yep, or milk or anything.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then so experiment, and this is another little tip I want to add that a lot of my ladies have discovered. You may eliminate it and not feel any different. Oh, thank you. Some people eliminate it and feel a difference immediately, 3 days. Other people, you might eliminate it and not see any difference. And then you're like, it doesn't affect me. Let me bring it back in. And then you notice when you bring it back in.
That's when a lot of people notice a lot of things.
Yes.
You may not feel a lot of things that you cut out, and then you bring it back in, and you're like, oh my gosh, what is this?
Yep.
Right? And some people will use that as a reason why you shouldn't be carnivore, because your body can't handle, right? Whatever, because you've altered your gut biome, so now that other things that you eat make you sick. No, they were making you sick to begin with,
and you just didn't notice it.
And you just didn't know it because your biome was altered already, and you just reset it back to normal.
And you lived with that inflammation, you just didn't notice.
Yeah.
Or connect it to the food.
Yeah.
So one of the recommendations I make is keep it out for a good 3 to 4 weeks minimum before you start bringing it back in. Don't do it for 7 days.
And bring it back in slowly.
Yes. Don't do it for 7 days and then say, see, it doesn't cause any problems, because it's not going to be long enough. You've got to give it 21 to 30 days at least. And then don't bring it all back at once. Bring one thing back. Maybe it's the cheese. Maybe it's the milk. Because if you bring everything back, then you don't know what the problem really is.
And I would say also, when you bring it back one thing, but don't bring it back one thing a little bit.
Right. You're going to need enough.
You need enough to know, right? Because if you bring it back a little bit and nothing happens, then you have a little bit more and then nothing happens. Then now what you're doing is now you're training your body to get back to the state that it was in previously.
Yes. So big.
Okay.
Yes.
So if you're cutting it out for a month and then you're like, okay, I want to see what heavy cream does. Do a full dose of heavy cream every single time you do it. Don't do a little bit. I'm just going to try a little bit, see what happens. No. Put that ish in there.
I mean, the way that we do this with nutritional therapy is you would bring that one thing in 3 times that day with do it every meal.
Right.
Right. You do, or at least twice a day for multiple days. And then particularly at least 1 to 2 days, and then wait before you introduce another thing. Have a washout period of a few days before you introduce the next thing to notice whether or not it's doing anything to you.
Yep. All right. Hope that answers your question. Take it easy, guys. We will see you next week.
See you next week.